It's not the spoon that bends, your perception and awareness bend, and then the spoon bends. And that ultimately, like, it all comes down to you. The state that you're in while you're curious directs what you experience in reality. My name is Sonia Herrera. Welcome to my channel. This is Anomaly. So all I can really do is share my understanding and my experience, because I can't say that my view right here, right now is right, because it's always changing and evolving as I learn more. Okay, so my current understanding of reality is that it's all in a superposition state until we experience it in some way. And I mean, who really knows if it's really in superposition, but that's just the way that we experience it. So it could be that I'm the one who's in superposition and that reality is one way and that my perception changes, and so I experience a different part of reality. So basically, the way I bend influences what I end up perceiving. Just like in The Matrix, when Spoon Boy said, it's not the spoon that bends, it's you that bends. So what I've noticed is that the less aware that I am, the less connected things are in reality. So for instance, I'm sitting on a bed. The bed was bought at the store and the bed is for sleeping on. And that's all that means. There's no more meaning to what that is. But the more aware that I become, I've realized that things in reality end up being way more connected. And so what people will call this, when they experience this, is synchronicities. So you're thinking of something and then all of a sudden you see something in your reality that is a symbol for what you were thinking about, or is that thing that you were thinking about. And you'll start to see connections and patterns in reality. So random events and things become more connected. The more that you recognize the connectedness of these random patterns, events, and things, you can enter a state of curiosity where you're wondering more about why they're connected and thinking that it means something, or you can enter a state of dismissal where you dismiss the connection and everything goes back to, like, this is a bed that I'm sitting on and that's it. It doesn't mean anything else. There's no connection to what's outside the window. I've noticed that the more curious you are about the connection and what it means and why you're seeing the connection, the more connections that you see. I do know that this is actually how schizophrenics end up being afraid of a lot of things, is they'll see connections to random events that aren't necessarily connected, at least to the people outside of them that are observing them. But a lot of times is they end up being afraid of what they're seeing. So they're seeing these, making these connections, but it's based a lot on suspicions rather than on like curiosity and awe. What I've noticed is that your state of curiosity, or the state that you're in while you're curious, directs what you experience in reality, what you perceive in reality. So if you see something and you're afraid, or you're suspicious that someone is out to get you, the more likely you're going to see patterns in your reality that connect in your mind that someone is out to get you. But if you look at the patterns and wonder with less fear, then you're going to see have a different experience in the patterns that you see that connect. For example, this is how a lot of discoveries are found. So like when the apple fell from the tree, he picks it up and he wonders why the apple fell from the tree. It led to the discovery of gravity. Another example is the discovery of animals. So like discovering the panda. What happens is once you make a discovery, it's like it has a whole history of existence and it has a future. Now we see the history, but it's almost like before we didn't notice the history unless the history was what led us to discovering it. Basically, the existence of reality out there is interconnected with your inner awareness. Existence is driven by the kind of curiosity and questions that you ask and wonder within your mind. When people have, for example, conspiracy theories, there's a lot of theories out there that may not be proven or may be proven. Like, for example, the existence of UFOs. I've seen UFOs and I've had experience with UFOs. And I know how that experience came to be now that I understand more about how reality works, at least my current understanding about it, why I saw them and why I was able to see them and why some people can see them and some people can't right now. I can't say that, for example, the panda existed before someone perceived it. Like it could have always been there, but unperceivable. Or it could have been that it was in superposition and was created when someone was able to perceive it in their mind. Either way, it's like they're interconnected. So existence of anything in reality is dependent on awareness, or they're interconnected. Once you begin to realize that the existence of reality out there is interconnected with your inner awareness and your perception, then you start to realize what they were talking about in the Matrix, where it's not the spoon that bends, it's that you realize that your perception and awareness bend and then the spoon bends. And that ultimately, like it all comes down to you. But then once you realize that it all comes down to you and your awareness and your perception, you start to wonder like who you are and what you are. You realize you're much bigger than what you may have originally thought you were. By the time that I started to realize that for myself, I was noticing these patterns so well that I recognized that anything that I wonder about in my mind, the answers will pop up in reality. I have synchronicities. My entire life is just a big, long synchronicity, like every day, all day long. I realized that I can find out more about who I am by just wondering and my reality showing me. And that if I understand something out there, I'm understanding more of what's in here. And if I understand more of what's in here, I understand more about what's out there. So really what it all comes down to is I'm just understanding who I am, myself. And that understanding reality out there is helping me understand who I am. I realize that there's not this big disconnection between me and out there, me and you. This isn't necessarily who I am, because again, this is something I'm perceiving. So what I'm going to do in this podcast then is kind of show you how this is working out for me, because like I said, everything is telling me about me and my life, and it's like this whole laid out story. And it's kind of like if you were to take and the questions that I ask, it's like throwing a rock into a pond and it ripples out and it builds this whole story, and it kind of like spirals around me in all these stories, and then they intertwine with each other. And so I watch a lot of videos, I see a lot of things, I read a lot of articles, and they're all telling me about me and my life, and me and my life is telling me about the reality out there. This is just the introduction of what I'm doing, and then I will start with my first episode with the first video from today.